Hello, everyone. Welcome to our special guest speaker, Danielle Wegman time. And my name is Rebecca Flores from Generation Schools Network. We have a treat for you today. I have with me Danielle Wegman, who is a realtor in the Denver metro area. She has been in this real estate for the past 20 years. So all the goodies that she's going to drop on us, the knowledge, the insight, the wisdom, the do's and don'ts, she is a perfect person, perfect candidate to be able to talk to us about this. Questions are, of course, welcomed as usual. And with no further ado, drum roll and all, Danielle Wegman, I'm going to pass it over to you. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you. So I am going to go ahead and share my screen. So my name's Danielle Wegman. I am, like Rebecca said, a realtor in the Denver metro and surrounding areas.
You're getting it?
I got my license
Do you need headphones?
just back August of 24 last year. However, like she said, I have been in the real estate industry for 20 years. I've worked for two different local home builders. One of them you've probably heard of, Oakwood Homes. I worked for them for 14 years. I also worked for Local Homes for about 6 or 7 years as their closing coordinator and manager. So in that position, I have helped over 4,000 people close on their homes and become homeowners. And that's been instrumental in helping me break into the industry as a realtor. I've got countless industry colleagues in the lending, title, and builder communities that I still utilize as a realtor. So these connections have just been huge for me making my new career a success. Little bit of personal information. I was born and raised in Northeast Colorado. I like to explain where I was raised as the armpit of Nebraska. I grew up in Julesburg, Colorado. My mom owned and operated a title company for 30 years out there. So I've grown up in the real estate industry. So this was normal talk for me to have with my parents at the dinner table. I have 3 wonderful children, 3 boys. My oldest is in the Coast Guard. I've got a senior in high school this year that will be graduating and also going into the Coast Guard. And then I've got a 8th grader, and those younger 2 keep me busy. They play rugby for East High School. And yeah, so when I'm not busy out selling homes, I'm at rugby games cheering my kiddos along. So let's see here. Big question. What does it take to become a realtor? Everybody thinks that it might be a little bit easier than it truly is. Before I could even get my license, I had to do 168 hours of education from an accredited school. So the state of Colorado had to say that they will accept these credits towards my real estate license. So what does 168 hours look like? That is 6 weeks of me going to a class every Wednesday night for 4 hours. So I worked a 9-to-5 job. I came home, I got online for 4 hours, which doesn't sound bad, right? Well, I didn't just go to class for 4 hours. I had homework. So just like you guys have homework, I had homework for that class. I had to do a lot of reading, a lot of tests, a lot of studying. So it took far more than 168 hours. I took my last class on my birthday, exactly how everybody wants to spend their birthday, and immediately took the test. So that's the second part of getting your license. I had to take not 1 test, but 2 to get my license. I had to take a national test and I had to take a state test. And I had to pass both of those with what you guys would equivalent as a C to pass that. But these are not easy tests. You do a lot of studying to take these tests. I also had to do a fingerprint background check. So I had to go to the state of Colorado, give them my fingerprints, and they had to run that as well. Another big portion is getting your E&O insurance. I cannot get my license without what's called errors and omissions insurance. So what that's there for is to protect me and my business so that if something were to go wrong with a contract or somebody was to come back and try and sue me, that helps cover those legal ramifications. And every business owner should have that to protect them. I also had to find a managing broker. In Colorado, you have to be underneath what's called a managing broker for at least 2 years. And it's important to find a good managing broker, especially as a new realtor. You want to make sure that you find a broker that's going to mentor you and educate you and step you through everything that you're going to learn as a new realtor. And by managing broker, I'm talking about places like Remax, EXP, Keller Williams. These are all big names that a lot of you have probably heard or seen on a shopping cart at King Soopers or Safeway or a sign. That's a managing broker. Now, you don't have to do Keller Williams or Remax. You can find a smaller managing broker, which is what I did. And you know, they help me as far as mentoring. They're going to walk me through my first contracts. They're going to walk me through conversations with potential buyers and sellers, clear down to helping me when I'm negotiating contracts, when I've got questions. I will say that because I have that 20-year background, this process is a lot easier because I do already understand a lot of the ramifications and the backgrounds of those contracts. And then finally, I had to submit and pay for an application with the state of Colorado. And that was with the Department of Regulatory Agencies, or DORA is what we call that. And they look at all of the things I've done, the education, passing my test, the background check. They look at all of that and say, okay, you've met the qualifications to become a realtor, and they issue that license. Now, I do have to renew that license every 3 years. I have to do continuing education. So I went through all of those hours. Doesn't mean I'm done. I still have to take classes to continue to keep my license. I have to keep up with what's new in the industry and what's new to the state's requirements as a realtor. So then next question, I've gone through all of those hoops. I've got my license. I am now officially a licensed realtor in the state of Colorado. So now what do I do? Well, one of the main things that we do is we're going to help buyers purchase a home. Again, sounds simple, right? Well, there's a lot that goes into it. You're going to mentor your buyer. You're going to guide them through what they need to do to prepare to buy a home. It's not as easy as waking up one day and go, I'm going to buy a home. You know, it's not, you wake up and you say, I'm going to buy a pair of shoes or I'm going to go do this. But when you wake up and say, I'm going to buy a home, there's a lot that goes into that process. I'm going to recommend them to a lender because that's the first and foremost important step when you're purchasing a home is talking to a lender and finding out what can I afford? What can I qualify for? Do I have good credit? Do I have good income? Do I have a savings? You know, I want a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house. Can I afford a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house? I talk to them and to determine what they can buy within their budget. So they're going to come to me and say, Danielle, I am approved for $350,000. I really want a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house. And I have to kind of go look in the market and go, well, you can, but these are probably the areas of the city that we're going to need to focus on. Or unfortunately, sometimes I have to have those tough conversations of, I just don't know that we're going to find a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house for you and at a $350,000 budget. What do you truly want and what do you truly need? And where do those line up with that we can fit into your budget. You know, you're single, you don't have children. Do you really need 3 bedrooms? Can we look at something that is, say, 2 bedrooms and a bathroom that fits within your budget? So it's having those conversations and guiding those buyers through that. Then they go, okay, you know, this is what I need and want. Now let's start finding that home. So then we're going to go through and look in what's called the MLS, the multiple listing or multi-listing service. And we're going to find homes that fit their needs and their wants. And we're going to go tour those homes. Um, we may look at 2 or 3 homes and find the home that suits them. We might look at 20 or 25 homes, but I'm going to go out with them and I'm going to tour them through every single home that we think could potentially fall within their budget and their needs. And we've now found the perfect home. We've found that home that will work for them within their budget. And now it's time to submit the offer. So we offer that seller, you know, what we'll pay for it, maybe what they need help with for closing costs. I'm going to work with that seller and that buyer and negotiate that offer. And then we're finally under contract. Well, it doesn't stop there. There's certain steps within the contract that need to be done, and I'm going to guide them through that process. I'm going to go with them. We're going to inspect the home and see if there's any items that need to be addressed. You know, do they need a new roof? Does the furnace need inspected? Is there touch-ups that need to be done? I guide them through that process. And I work with their lender as well to make sure that we're both moving through that process of purchasing that home in a smooth way. I look at myself as a tool. I am a tool for that buyer. And that's what I'm there for, is to guide them and help them through that process. And then we come to the final day, which is my favorite day, and that's closing day. That is where I get to go with them and we go to the closing table and we close on that home, which means they are officially a homeowner. So honestly, that is the best day in the process, because at that time I get to know I played a part in that. I I got them to this point, and it's exciting for them, but it's exciting for me as well. Because I truly do love every single buyer I work with. Um, I always tell them that I am in the roller coaster ride with them. I'm excited with them. I'm bummed with them. I get frustrated with them, but it is a truly a team process. So that's one side of it. The other side of it is helping them sell their home. So I helped John get into his wonderful 2 bedroom, 1 bathroom condo. And over the course of 4 or 5 years, John's gotten married, and him and his wife want to sell that home because they want to start a family, and they truly do now need a 3 bedroom, 2 bathroom home, and they want that yard and that garage. And John comes to me and he says, "Hey, it's time for us to sell." So now I'm going to work with him on the sell side of his transaction. And again, not an easy process. Looks a little bit different than the buy side. I am going to provide them a comprehensive market analysis. So I'm going to look at John's 2 bedroom, 1 bathroom condo. I'm going to look at all of the other 2 bedroom, 1 bathroom condos that were for sale in that area or that had sold. And I'm going to come back to John and say, look, I feel like your condo is now worth $400,000. And I truly feel like that is a good place for us to list your condo at on the market. I am going to give him advice on what to do to prepare that condo to list it on the market. I'm going to walk through that house with him and say, well, you know, John, it looks like, you know, we have a little bit of touch up to do. You've got a lot of wonderful items that you've collected over the years, but I want to make sure that those are protected as you're selling your house. I think we should box those up and protect them. And we want to put those treasures away and make your house look as big as possible so that anybody coming in can picture themselves in your house. So I'm going to give John and his new wife recommendations on what to do to prepare their home for market. And like I mentioned, I'm going to help them determine what price they should list it at based on that comprehensive market analysis. Then we're going to put their home on the market. We're going to list their home in the MLS. But we're not just going to do that. Just listing it in the MLS is what I call being a couch realtor. And I am not. I am going to create marketing materials. I'm going to put it out on social media. I'm going to put it on Instagram. I'm going to put it on Facebook. I'm going to market it to other realtors. I'm going to plaster it everywhere I possibly can to get it out in front of all of those potential buyers. I'm going to do open houses. So I'm going to say, hey, John and Nancy, why don't you guys go have lunch, go have fun for the afternoon? I'm going to sit in your house and I'm going to show it to other potential buyers that maybe don't have time to look at it with their realtor, or they're just starting to think of getting into the market. I'm going to hold it open so that they can come in at their convenience and take a look at your home. And then that day comes where that perfect buyer says, I love John and Nancy's home. I want to put a contract down on it. And their realtor sends me an offer, and I'm going to negotiate that with the buyer and seller again. That buyer may come in and say, well, you listed your house at 400,000, but we want to offer you 390. And I'm going to be that go-between so that we can find that happy price where both the buyer and the seller negotiate and come to a compromise on what they feel is a fair deal. And then again, I'm going to guide them through that contract process. I'm going to let John and Nancy know, hey, they're going to want to come in and do an inspection. We need to get your homeowners association documents done for them. They have things on their inspection that they want addressed. Are you willing to address these? Are you not? We're going to do all of that negotiation and follow that contract process. And then again, we're back to my same favorite place. We're back at the closing table, and John and Nancy have now sold their home and they're ready to buy their next home to fit what they hope to be a growing family. And then I'm back to the buyer's side. So those are the two biggest parts that we play as a realtor. And like I said, we're a tool. We are there to help guide people through a complicated process and one of the biggest purchases they will ever make in their life.
Danielle, I
So
had a couple of questions if I could just jump in real quick.
go right on ahead.
So one question is, what is your most interesting closing story since we were on this topic? And then the second one is going to be a lot of people using Zillow and third-party sites when starting their home search. How does this differ from MLS search?
Okay. So I'm going to tackle the easy one first. Zillow, Realtor, Trulia, Homes.com, all of those sites actually pull their information from the MLS. So what you see on Zillow and Realtor are actually homes that are in the MLS. It's just a platform for additional advertisement. So really what you are looking at is the MLS. Now, what I can tell you about Zillow is that it is a little bit different than the other sites because Realtor, Homes.com, all of those only pull from the MLS. Zillow has one extra platform, which is they offer the ability for sellers that are selling their home themselves, which we call FSBOs, or for sale by owner. You can post your house on Zillow and sell it yourself. What I do tell any client that comes to me and says, hey, why should we use you as opposed to selling it ourselves? And I tell them exactly what I just explained to you with selling. Uh, if you sell it by yourself, you're going to list it on Zillow and maybe Facebook Marketplace, Nextdoor. You're going to list it on those sites, but it's got a very limited audience. You're only going to catch those people that go only to Zillow. And the other thing that they're not going to get is they aren't going to have anybody to market it. They're going to have to try and figure out how to market themselves the best that they can. They are not going to have somebody stepping them through what to do to prepare their home. They won't have somebody there to help them through the negotiation and the contract process. So, in essence, they're flying blind and doing the best that they can. Some people, they can absolutely do that. I will tell you, my sister just sold her home as a FSBO. She sold it by herself off of Zillow. However, my sister had a secret weapon. She had me. So she did come to me and ask questions, but not everybody has their secret weapon. And my most interesting closing, I would say, and it wasn't as a realtor, it was actually as a closing coordinator. I had a guy come to closing and we signed all of the paperwork and we got done. And he goes, okay, now I need to wire my money. And I was like, well, you didn't already do that? And he goes, no, I still need to set up that wire. Well, wires can take up to 24 hours to make it from their bank to the bank of the institution they're closing with. And he had all of his stuff in a moving truck sitting out front. And we said, well, we can't give you the keys to your new home until your funds are here. And it was 4 o'clock in the afternoon in Colorado and he banked in Georgia. Well, Georgia's 2 hours ahead of us and it was 6 o'clock in Georgia. So his bank was closed. So unfortunately, he was not able to move that day. We had to order his wire and wait for it to show up the next day. And once his funds got there, we got to hand him his keys and say, hey, congratulations. But it's dealing with fun surprises that you never know are going to show up until they're there. So, I mean, I've got tons of stories, but that was probably one of my most memorable is if you go to a dealership and buy a car and say, well, I was going to give you the money tomorrow. Is that dealership going to let you drive off with that car today?
No.
Probably not. And it's the same way in the real estate world. And I am sure I will have lots more to share as the years go on.
Yeah. We can move on to the next one, Danielle. I did have another question. Do you want to take it or do you want to go to the next one?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. What are some of the biggest roadblocks to people closing on homes and how do you address that?
So one of the biggest roadblocks is one, setting expectations. Some of you have probably heard champagne dreams on a beer budget. And it can be a tough situation to navigate because say John, he really wants that 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house and we just can't find it. I have to try and navigate through that with him and get him to come to his own conclusion of that is just not in the budget. And it's not as easy as always saying, look, John, I just can't do it. I have to find a way to gingerly work through with those buyers and help them come to those realizations on their own. Just like your parents sometimes say, look, no, you can't do this, or they tell you what to do or how to do it. Sometimes they have to let you come to that realization on your own. I have to do the same thing with with buyers and sellers, is guiding them through understanding and them accepting it. Because me just telling them, no, it's not going to happen. Just like your parents saying, no, you cannot go out on Saturday night. Um, it's easier when they just accept that on their own and come to that conclusion on their own, as opposed to telling them it's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you. And then
Perfect.
lastly, Danielle, on the screen, I can see your presentation, but there's also a black, I'm not sure if that's from another screen,
Hmm.
if there's just a black line.
I don't know. I don't see it on my end.
It,
Let's see here. From current slide. Did that help it at all?
no, it might have been something that was open. Maybe it looks like an email potentially, but because it's on your side, it's like there's two boxes now.
I am just leaving some stuff to see if that alleviates it.
Yeah, one box is gone. Oh, that box came back.
That perfect. I just closed a bunch of stuff, so that probably helped.
Yeah, there's one more box though, and it's taking one side of your cons. We can't see it.
Let's see here. I do not have any others to
Close
close because it's my Zoom box. Let me go back. Did that do anything?
for
I
one
wonder
of
if
the,
it's this. Did that move it?
yeah, it moved.
I bet that's it. I had the window open for our,
Okay.
that's probably what it was.
Okay, it's better. Yeah, there you go.
Awesome. Awesome.
Thank you.
Perfect. No, no worries. Thank you for letting me know. So being a realtor is easy, right? I wished I could say that. I wished I could say there was something in life that was easy outside of picking what show you wanted to watch and relax to. So pros and cons. The pros, obviously, like I kind of said about the closing table, getting to know that you made a difference for a family. That is probably the biggest non-monetary takeaway I can get from doing what I do. Um, I truly do get attached to every single one of my clients and future clients. Just knowing that I did something that helped somebody is just a massive reward for me. Income potential. I have the potential, and I definitely preference potential to make as much or as little um, as I want. And all of that comes into hard work. The harder I work, the better my potential is. If I only want to work 5 hours a week, then my income potential is going to be low. If I am willing to pour my heart and soul and everything I've got into my business, I have great income potential. And real estate ebbs and flows. I could make 40,000 one year. Next year, I could make 200,000. It just, it just depends on how hard I want to work and what the market is doing. Flexible schedule, kind of. So I have the ability to control when I work and when I don't work, kind of. I say that my schedule is dependent upon my client's schedule. So if my client says, hey, I really want to go look at houses on Saturday, then I'm working on Saturday. But I also have that ability to say, well, my kids have a rugby game Saturday morning, but yeah, we can go out and look at homes on Saturday afternoon. So I do have that ability to mold my schedule around my life. And I don't have to worry about, I've got to go to work at 8 a.m. Monday through Friday, and I don't get off until 5 p.m., but I need to go to the bank or I need to do something for my kids. I can mold my schedule around my personal life as well. You're your own boss. So again, it could be good, it could be bad, but I am my own boss. When I have to go talk to my boss, I go stand in front of the bathroom mirror and I say, "Hey, boss, I am going to go to Mexico next week. Is that okay?" And my boss goes, "Yeah, that's fine. That sounds like a blast. Go enjoy yourself." But sometimes my boss might look at me and go, "Do you really have time to go to Mexico next week? You really probably should stay back and work on your marketing, work on doing home tours with this client, or, do an open house for that client." So I am my own boss, and that's fabulous, but I also have to be accountable to myself as well. And then all of your efforts are done for yourself and not a corporation. So all of my wins, all of the great things that come out of what I do it for myself. I do it for my family. So when I have to work an evening or I have to work a weekend, I know that I'm working that evening or that weekend for me and my family and not for Oakwood Homes. So it makes it a lot easier putting that effort in because I know that I'm going to be the one reaping that reward. And then our cons, like I said, flexible schedule. However, working weekends and evenings is inevitable. You are going to work evenings and weekends. The upfront costs. Becoming a realtor is not cheap. I had to pay for my classes. I had to pay for my test. I had to pay for my E&O insurance. I have to pay for membership dues. I will tell you, I probably sank $3,000 just in getting started up as a realtor. And remember, I have no income right there. I haven't become a realtor. I haven't started selling and closing houses. So that upfront cost came out of my savings account. You win some, you lose more, and every no is one step closer to a yes. Um, you in sales, you're going to get probably a lot more no's than you do a yes. And you have to be able to put yourself in a mindset of not letting that get you down. Like I said, every no is one step closer to a yes. And you just have to wake up every morning and give yourself a pep talk and say, "I am going to do it. I am going to put my best effort in today, even when you're struggling." Not a steady paycheck. So when I work a 9 to 5 job, I know that on the 1st and the 15th, I am going to get paid. I know what that paycheck is going to look like. As a realtor, you don't know when you're going to get paid. You don't know what that paycheck is going to be. I had a closing in January. I have 2 closings this month. Right now, I don't know what March is going to look like. So I don't know if I'm getting a paycheck in March or April or May. I have to be prepared and think ahead with my finances for, if I have a month where I don't get a paycheck. Vacations are not guaranteed. So when you work again 9 to 5, you put in that vacation time and you get to check out and you get to go. As a realtor, you may have a vacation plan, but you may have to adjust those plans, or you may have to be prepared to work while you're on vacation. Unless you can find somebody that's going to cover those clients for you or do those appointments for you while you're gone, you are not going to have an uninterrupted vacation. And a big one is you don't have company paid benefits. So I don't get vacation time. I don't get a 401k. I don't get insurance. All of that comes out of my pocket. So when I take a vacation, I have to be prepared to know that I may not be able to generate clients, or I may lose out on a client because I am on vacation. I do have to budget in putting money aside for retirement when I get a commission check. And I have to make sure that I am, like I said, being financially smart because I don't have a company that's paying for that. So that is stuff you have to take into consideration for costs. So next, more leaving exactly what you do as a realtor, but kind of going into the importance of being a realtor and the real estate industry is why buy. So what I can tell you with real estate and with homes is that it's a low risk investment. The chance of you buying a home and losing money is far less risky than putting your money in the stock market. Now, have there been times in the past where homes have lost value? Absolutely, that can happen, but it's less likely than it is putting it into the stock market. So it's a low risk investment. A home is an appreciating asset. So what that means is your home is going to gain value over time. As you pay down your mortgage, you're improving your equity in your home. As market trends change and home prices go up, your home also appreciates in value. You reduce your inflation on future homes. So what that means is you probably hear your parents talk about the price of eggs, the price of milk, the price of groceries, just the price of stuff that they're buying and how it has gone up. That's inflation. When you buy a home, you're going to buy a home for, let's say, 350,000. And that home is going to increase in value. And you decide to sell it and you buy a new home. That home has also gone up in price, but yours has gone up in price at the same time. So uh, that increase in value that your current home has gained helps cover kind of that increase in value that the home you want to purchase has gone up as well. And hopefully that made sense.
Is
Uh,
that, for an example, Danielle, would it be like, let's say you bought the home for 350,000 and then in 5 years it went to 390,000 per se, so is that what you're meaning? Like, then you
yeah,
can utilize
so
that when you sell it, you can sell it for more than what you bought it and use that extra money towards your new home, potentially for a $400,000 home.
exactly, exactly. So you bought your home for 350, and on that same day, the other house that you are going to purchase in the future was worth 400,000. Well,
Mm.
now 5 years down the road, your house is worth 390,000, and that same house that you're getting ready to purchase was worth 400,000, and now it's worth 450,000. Well, you've made 40,000 on your house, and it kind of helps cover that 40,000 that other house went up. So you're, like I said, you're kind of freezing that inflation for yourself through the equity that you've gained in your house. And then owning a home creates long-term wealth. So when you own a home, you're going to make your money work for you, as opposed to paying rent. You're paying a mortgage. When you pay a mortgage, you are actually paying for something that you own. When you're paying rent, you are just paying for the right to use that home, but it's not yours. So the best way I explain it to my children is go ahead, pay $800 a month, give it to me. I will light it on fire and I will throw it in in the trash, because that is essentially what you are doing. You're not making your money work for you. You're making it work for your landlord. And then renter's remorse. So that kind of goes into what I just talked about. You can see Jenny and her two kids. She's buying a home and she's paying $2,500 a month for her mortgage. And so over the course of 30 years, she's paid $900,000. But after 30 years and $900,000, Jenny has that beautiful home sitting behind her. And even after that 30 years, she's still going to have that beautiful home sitting behind her. Ted over here, you can see that Ted's crying because Ted paid $2,500 a month for 30 years, but Ted was renting. So Ted's rent didn't stay at $2,500 a month. Ted's rent went up on average 3.8% every year. So instead of over 30 years, Ted paying $900,000, he paid $1.5 million. And at the end of that 30 years, Ted still has to continue to pay rent to have a home to live in. And this little graph here shows you how much Jenny saved by buying a home every year over 30 years. And you see that that graph goes up because every year Jenny is saving more and more because she is purchasing the home that she's living in. So Ted says he just paid $628,000 more because he was afraid to buy a house. And Ted has nothing to show for it at the end of that 30 years. I think we've probably talked a little bit about this, but you know, my house is worth what? In 30 years, your $300,000 home could be worth $972,000. So you just made your money work for you. You now can sell that home and go to a smaller home because you're ready to retire, and you have $672,000 in equity to probably buy a smaller home for cash, and you don't have to worry about where you're going to live when you're retired. And I know that is a long ways away for you guys. But look at your grandparents or even aunts, uncles, your parents. They're preparing for retirement by owning their own home. So the big question is, does buying a house sound like such a bad idea? And hopefully by now you guys are going, you know what, I need to start thinking about this now. Because now is the time, even though you're in high school, now is the time to think about saving and putting money away so that you are ready after college to hopefully buy your own home and start growing your own wealth and start making your money work for you. I've got a kid that's in the Coast Guard, like I mentioned earlier. He lives in Georgia, and we've already been talking about this. He'll be 21 in March. He has roommates. He does pay rent, but we've had that conversation of, you're not going to pay rent forever. You will buy a home so that you can start making your money work for you. So now imagine that you're a realtor and you've played a part in helping buyers make good financial decisions that have secured their future. And you're not Ted, who's crying because he paid rent for 30 years and he still has to continue to pay rent in order to have a place to live. So that tells you why I chose to be a realtor and do what I do. It's to know that I am helping people make good financial decisions for their future. So I think that is everything. Hopefully that was helpful. Hopefully it was insightful. Hopefully I didn't lose you guys in the process, and I would love to answer any additional questions that you guys have.
One question here, it says, how do renters overcome the need for a credit score when their rent doesn't count towards their credit score?
Okay, that's an awesome question. So there are a lot of different ways to build credit. One of those ways, and if you're really smart about it and you don't let it create a problem, is get a credit card, just a little small credit card, maybe $1,000 limit, and you use that strictly for gas. And when you go to the gas station, you put that gas on that credit card, and then at the end of the month, you pay that off. So as long as you continue to pay off your credit cards, and just doing that will actually help grow your credit score. You may have your parents, if you buy a car and you have a small car payment, that will help create credit. So there are ways to create credit without having your rent go towards your credit score. And I will tell you, again, my oldest, when he went into the Coast Guard a little over a year ago, we opened him up a credit card, and he had no credit. He went to buy a car, and his interest rate on his car loan was going to be 19%. That's a lot. That almost doubled his car payment with that interest rate. Now, not everybody is this lucky, but mom, me, said, okay, Connor, I've got enough in savings that we will back your car loan to get you a lower interest rate, but you are going to make those car payments, and that loan is going to be in your name. So that loan was in Connor's name. Connor makes those payments every single year. We opened up Connor a credit card that he puts his gas and his food on. He pays it off twice a month. When he gets paid on the 1st, he goes in and pays his credit card off. When he gets paid on the 15th, he goes in and he pays his credit card off. So remember, Connor had a 0 credit score. And within 6 months, I talked to Connor and I said, hey, have you pulled up your credit score? And there's ways to do that. And he goes, yeah, I have. And I said, what is it? And he goes, my credit score is at 700. And he goes, is that good? And I went, oh my gosh, Connor, that's incredible. To get a loan, you want a minimum of a 620 credit score. The maximum credit score that anybody can have, I believe, is an 850. And Connor was at a 700 credit score in just 6 months, all because he was smart and he utilized his credit card within his budget to grow his credit score. So yes, there are absolutely ways that you can grow your credit score without needing your rent to be a part of that.
Awesome.
So if there's anything else, it looks like there said, somebody asked, is there a certain month the market is high to sell and buy homes?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people, you see a lot of homes go on the market in the spring. You see fewer homes go on the market in the wintertime, but that doesn't mean that there's a good or a bad time to buy a home. Buying a home, it's, you do it when it's good for you. Now, technically, I would tell you that the best time to buy is when everybody else isn't. Because if you purchase a home, say, between Christmas and Thanksgiving, there are fewer people out there looking for homes and going under contract. So if you're one of the few buyers out there, that also means you're not competing with a lot of people. And that also means your seller, the person that you're buying from, might be more willing to negotiate because they just want to get their house under contract. So really, sometimes buying during that off time is actually better because you're eliminating some of the competition. And with selling, again, it's all about what's best for you. I will tell you that December and January in the real estate market is very slow. Last December was slower than it had been in about 2 years. But there's not necessarily a good or bad time to buy.
Great questions, you guys.
Yeah, and Rebecca, thank you so much for inviting me to do this. I hope that your students take away just a lot of learning. I would definitely love to come back. And I look forward to hopefully seeing these kids take this and just figure out how to make some good financial decisions for them as they grow into young adults.